congratulations on such an inspiring and delightful narrative directorial debut. Truly, I loved the film so much.
No, thank you. I'm so happy you got to see it.
Oh, yes. To start, what was the process like finding the tone of the film? Because you honored both the light and dark of life, and found that beautiful balance between heart and humor.
That's such a great question because tone was the hardest thing to define in this movie. I knew I didn't want to make a movie about the Flaming Hot Cheeto. I wanted to make a movie about the life of Richard Montañez. And once I went down a rabbit hole of learning who he was and videos and his speeches and then meeting him, I was like, wow, he's so funny. And he'll tell you himself, he's the smartest, uneducated person you'll ever meet. So there's like a rhythm to the way he speaks. Like he doesn't have a big vocabulary, but what he's saying is super profound. And you're like, whoa, he has this really dark past that is right underneath the surface. So you feel that threat and that hardness to him, but he's a grandpa and a husband, and he's totally vulnerable with Judy. So tonally, we were like, wow, where do we even begin? And that's when I knew I wanted the movie to be in his perspective. I was like, the movie has to be in Richard's point of view. I want to hear what he sounds like. I want to be in his mind. And so that really gave us a lot of creative liberty for things that he really thought happened, or he really envisioned it that way. And so we got to have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I think that's really what dictated the tone. Was I wanted it to have heart and humor like Richard does.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I think too, a big part of that, which I absolutely loved, was that we got to spend as much time with Richard at home as we did with him in the factory. So how important was it to show not only the inspiring man behind the success, but the inspiring father? I mean, those scenes with him and his boys, and just the kernels of wisdom and the heart there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, it still goes along the lines of like, I didn't want to make a documentary about the I wanted to see his life. And when the first script came in, I remember Searchlight kept going, we need to get to the factory faster. We need to get there sooner. We got to get to the story. And I kept going, no. And I fought for that real estate of like, no, I don't want to get to the factory until this page, because what we're setting up is so important. His childhood, his gang banging years, his relationship with Judy, how they fell in love, his relationship with his dad, like all that was super important for me to set up at the beginning of the movie so it pays off later. That was one thing that I really kind of dug in and held strong to, was like, I need to see who this man was before this life-changing event. And I think it worked.
Yeah, that's all the meat. It was lovely. Speaking of Judy, I mean, so often in biopics or true stories, the woman in a man's life is unfairly overlooked. She's put in a box as a mother or a wife, but that was so far from the truth here. Judy was front and center. She was so complex. Can you talk about that impactful choice?
Yeah, well, the original script, Linda and I did like a page one rewrite. We didn't the original script I read, and then I brought on Linda, and I was like, okay, page one rewrite. And once Linda and I sat and talked with Richard, the real Richard and Judy, we walked out of that meeting and we were like, oh my God, this is a love story. Like we both felt that. And in that moment, we decided Judy is going to be the heart of this movie and the pillar of his strength. And so it was really empowering to see a woman from our community, in the Latina community, be headstrong and tough and smart, but at the same time still have the traditional role of being a mom and being a wife. And so it was nice to see the complexity of a woman like Judy, supporting and standing by her man, but also standing on her own.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such a beautiful love story. That's exactly how I felt when I finished the film. I was like, this is a love story, and I'm a sucker for a love story. So that made me so happy. And it's so true. I mean, these characters, these people, these humans are so beautifully complex that even if like nothing ever happened with the success of the Cheetos, like just seeing them and being able to be in their world at home with each other, that was the poetry, that was the art, and it was so lovely. Um, the film has so many powerful themes. Um, you know, gosh, as our world can feel more divided now than ever, how crucial of a role can storytelling play, in creating change and fighting resistance?
I mean, it's, the greatest medium we have to do that, right? Like the media and Hollywood gets to define what heroes look like. And they don't usually look like Richard Montañez. So I had this opportunity to define what a hero looked like for us and for our community. And I ran with that. I was like, we're doing it this way. And I think it's going to have a great effect, not only in our community, but on educating other communities about who we are. And that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, in honor of continuing to find joy in life's challenges, another theme that I sort of took away from this film, what did stepping behind the camera, working on this project, working so closely with Richard and Judy, what did it teach you most about yourself?
That I am Richard Montañez. I mean,
Mm.
it really, was drawn to this story because I too have been told, no, 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 ideas don't come from people like you. No, 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 that opportunity is not for a woman. No, you really can't do that. And like Richard, I dared to ask, well, why not? Why not me? And Richard did too. His naivete about protocol was his superpower. He was like, why don't I just call a CEO? And I feel like I have that too. I was like, why don't I just call so and so? Like, why can't we just, do this or that? Like, I think that is a very it's a value that we underestimate, right? You're like, oh, they're so naive, and you're like, yeah, but there's something beautiful about thinking outside the box and not conforming to a system and really going against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about like, the idea that we always try to hide away, especially when we're young. And a lot of this is because of the lack of representation on screen. We try to hide away from our differences. We try to reject our differences when really that's our superpower. And like, this is the story about perseverance. And I loved it so much, Eva. Congratulations. And I can't wait to see what you do next and next and next behind the camera. I know you've been producing for a while and you've been directing for a while, but I look forward to just more. So thank you again for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being so enthusiastic and for your energy towards this. I appreciate it.